Hey, I'm Michael Artsis. Thanks so much for joining us on Be Terrific. We're at Adorama, the camera store and electronics store in New York City that is phenomenal. Right now, in the middle of a seminar for how to shoot at Comic-Con for photo. How to light it, how to shoot it better, doing it with some cosplayers, getting some interesting results. What are the keys here today that you're teaching the folks?
Well, what I'm trying to teach them is just to how to use light, how to angle light, what a diffuser will do, what a grid will do, and basically how to make sure they get some really good pictures at a very crowded place with lots of people going back and forth. A 50 millimeter lens will probably be your best bet because it's short enough so that you can get a little close to somebody. You don't have to worry about the huge amount of traffic coming through. You get a lens with a nice f-stop, something like 1.8, so you can really capture that one person beautifully sharp and completely blow out the huge crowd in the background. We're talking a little bit about light. We started doing some big light setups to show them the behavior a little bit. But then we brought it back to reality. You're not going to be carrying all this big, expensive gear, flash strobes and C-SENS and stuff. And we really just took one flash, one small diffuser, and then showed them how to use that in a crowd and then keep it moving. So you can get some really great, well-lit shots at Comic-Con.
It was very interesting. You know, I'm a professional. I would say I dabble professionally in photography, video professional for sure.
We all dabble.
And it's interesting to see different techniques. I think you bring some new techniques to the table, especially even with the single flash. A lot of guys I know don't use continuous lighting for photography. They use all flashes, and I think that's interesting as well.
I do like continuous lighting. I mean, it's great when you're especially learning lighting because you can really put your camera down on live view and really watch what you're doing and see the behavior of light. But when you're running and on the go and you can't sit there and have somebody, you just got to practice, practice in the background, take your flash and go. A speed light can do so many different things, more than what continuous light can do. They're really, really powerful. There's so many different modifiers for it. One light and a modifier or two can make a really big difference.
So I think the big keys are get a really good flash, get a diffuser, and I think that if you don't have a full frame sensor, which you're shooting with today, maybe a 50 would be too tight because it's going to be a crop sensor. So I think that I'd recommend going with a wider angle lens, but also using a faster aperture. That's really important. Having really good glass probably is the most important part of this puzzle.
Well, again, the lens does come into play. What we were using here was the 24 to 70, which is great because you can get in really, really tight, or you can zoom right back into 24. If you're on a crop sensor, that's going to come out to about 38, close to 40, which is still shorter than a 50 millimeter lens, which will be really great. Not the most inexpensive piece of glass in the world, but a 35 millimeter 1.8 on a crop sensor will shoot almost exactly like a 50. You get about the same amount, and it does go to about 1.8, which will still get a nice sharp subject and a blown out background.
So mostly what we're talking about here is how to do this quickly and on a budget, and a lot of these solutions are, but lenses unfortunately are the missing piece that really you can't cheap out on. There are some things, as you mentioned, like a 51.8 that are always affordable, whether it's Canon or Nikon, but the rest of the glass is an investment. But that's really where your investment needs to be, is with glass.
Well, exactly. Cameras will come and go. Different features are going to come. I specifically have lenses that are made in the 90s, and I still use them today.
I have lenses that were made in the 50s that were my grandfather's Nikon glass, his F-mount that he was using on his F2 and other Nikon gear.
Well, they're beautiful polished glass, and I mean, that's never going to be a bad thing, and that's never going to be obsolete. A well-polished glass, a nice sharp lens is going to last you for as long as your cameras are, even longer than that.
What do you think is the most important thing about lighting that you are stressing today?
The most important thing about lighting is just to learn how to use it and make your shadows. I think a lot of people just want like this sort of flat look. A grid on your modifier will give you some intense shadows and really contour the face and contour some of the features, as well as some of these Comic-Con characters being villains. It'll give it a nice dark look. It'll just completely change the look.
I like how you showed how you can take one background, like a gray background, make it look white, make it look black, make it look gray, and you can also make it look soft by using a low aperture or making it look bold by using a higher aperture.
Absolutely, and that goes right back to the lens. The one we were shooting at 2.8 today. And again, if I had the flat 50, I'd probably go into like 1.4 or something like that. Now we were shooting with two people, so I wanted to get enough depth of field in there to make sure they were both sharp. So we went up to something about 4. But that's the thing. Again, with these lenses, you have the option of shooting at 1.8 or 2.8 or f4 or f8.
Does it ever amaze you that with one background and just changing the lighting and some of the settings on the camera that you can go from black to white to gray?
Not at all. I mean, seeing these videos, I'm a YouTube fanatic when it comes to watching photography tutorials. Get out there and watch YouTube. There's a million different things.
Or go to seminars like this at Adorama.
Absolutely, and these seminars are free, so you basically come and walk in. Me and the meetup group host them, and we try to do raffles for everyone to make sure you come in for free. You see how to use this gear, and you can actually try and win it.
So you got a little insight here at Adorama today on how to light on the run, on the gun, and especially for Comic-Con. You also got some tips on how to light when you have a little bit more time. I'm Michael Artsis. Thanks so much for joining us. Be terrific.